is traction revenue? The short answer is, of course not. But then the longer answer is, well, it depends. Let's be honest, Rogan. VCs are inherently lazy people.
It means nothing.
It does mean something. See, if they had a meeting in person with the VC and then the VC said you're too early, shame on that VC. I think
sure, we have said things are too early.
So is traction revenue? The short answer is, of course not. But then the longer answer is, well, it depends.
Look, I mean, traction, like I said, it's difficult to put a measure or a number on it. It is something that after a meeting with a company, we will all probably have quite a heated discussion about and try to say, look, is this good? Is this bad? What does it mean? And I think that is the key for us. And so what we're actually looking for is, okay, is that question answered? And then what is the next question that comes out of it? So,
the question here is, does a healthy pipeline count as traction?
I will jump in here because this is one where Rogan and I might have different views on things.
It means nothing.
It does mean something. A pipeline, as long as it's a well thought out pipeline, with companies properly characterized at the various stages of where you are in the sort of engagement and sales process, I think is valuable, because then you can start to get a sense of the kinds of companies that people are speaking to, how companies flow along that funnel.
A VC has told them that they're too early. What does that mean?
Too early. Well, so here's the thing. I don't know if they had a meeting in person with that VC. If they had a meeting in person with the VC and then the VC said you're too early, shame on that VC. No one should be taking a meeting with a company unless you have kind of the basic set of facts. I think
sure, we have said things are too early.
But let's be honest, a lot of times when people say you're too early, what they really mean is we're just not sure about the business. And it's easier to say it's too early than it is to actually go through a very long process of explaining why you're concerned about the margins or the long-term market size or whatever else. Let's be honest, Rogan, VCs are inherently lazy people, and I put us there relative to founders. And so, VK, the question was, how can they stay in touch? Every one of our best founders is always selling the company to investors, always keeping them up to date. And I got to tell you, email works really well for that.
Luke's question here was, with a model where there are 2 to 3 purchases required to make back the money of the customer cost of acquisition and to reach profitability on that user, if you haven't necessarily proved out the multiple purchases yet, how would we view that?
So the first part of the question is, we haven't seen any, let's say we haven't seen any lifetime value. That would make it quite early for us. But if we've seen one repeat purchase, that gives us some indication. In terms of the potential for CAC to reduce over the coming years, we have to believe that. What I love to see is somebody understanding what the levers for that are and showing some progress and then making an assumption on how they can do it further.
It's a question of how long should I keep trying something that's not necessarily generating much traction before pivoting?
Yeah, the reality is you shouldn't necessarily listen to VCs. You have to be as honest with yourself as a founder, as hopefully the VCs are being about whether you're answering the questions.
By the way, I mean, I think this is very tough, and it should not be up to us to try to discourage anyone from continuing to kind of push forward on their dreams or their hopes, etc. On the other hand, I think people need to be sanguine about things. If you've been trying for a few years and you haven't been able to generate any customers or any traction or convince anyone to join your team, you know what? Like, you don't have that many opportunities. Time is quite precious. It might be time to consider something else. And so it's brutal, but it needs to be thought about at times.
This seems like a chicken and egg. I need traction to raise money, but how can I generate traction with no money?
Yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. And I guess what I say to that is building a business is hard. For founders, there are going to be hundreds of insurmountable tasks that they have to accomplish. And managing this chicken and egg situation of traction versus money raised is one of them.
And I agree. I mean, I'm trying to think of an analogy about an egg. Traction isn't an egg. You don't just, you have it or you don't have it. It is about building it up. And this is the whole thing. I think, again, we should do a thing where it's behind the scenes, Sean and I arguing after we've met a company. Because, the there is no answer. Every single time there is a supposition, and then we question that supposition and we say, do we have enough confidence and evidence to be able to say, yeah, we can move forward or not?